said shit.
Welcome to Trash Talk MMA.
Smile on my face, behind my back, they talk trash.
The #1 podcast for news and insight that matters in the world of mixed martial arts.
I don't want to hear it.
Brought to you live and unfiltered from all four corners of the globe
That's what you said.
by MMA aficionado Antoine Pelche.
Yo, and welcome to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Pelche, and today I have two very special guests live in Singapore. ONE FC fighter Brad Robinson and Darren De Silva, owner and founder of Fight G. What's going on, guys?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Thanks for having us on.
It's a beautiful day in Singapore. Yep. We just had a big fight weekend with the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. What do you guys think of all that?
It was the biggest sporting event of my lifetime, probably, and
it's funny that we have to actually think of it that way, right?
it was. I've never had so much anticipation for an event, a live event, in my whole life. But wasn't a good day for boxing, I think, is the best way to sum it up. Like, so many casual fans were dragged into that space, and I think they kind of feel a bit let down, not quite getting the boxing thing.
So yeah, I mean, casual fans, maybe some casual fans got exposed to pretty much the biggest boxing fight of all time.
Right.
Darren, what was your take on it?
I knew the fight would be boring. I mean, just because of Mayweather style versus Pacquiao style, and I figured it would be boring. And I think Mayweather's kind of fighter that wants to play it safe all the time. So I did think Mayweather would push the pace. I know Pacquiao would go for it because, with the judging and who the referee was, I knew Mayweather had to. I knew Pacquiao had to go for it. So somebody asked me who's going to win. I said, my brain tells me Mayweather, but my heart hopes Pacquiao.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been recording fighters and a bunch of martial arts professionals over the last 3 months in Thailand, and I remember I had Travis Luter on the show, a formal middleweight contender who fought Anderson Silva, and he's a huge boxing fan, and he had zero anticipation for this fight. To him, it was just like, this should have happened 5 years ago. It's irrelevant now. I then had Rob Lucida, ONE FC fighter, on the show the other day, and he was like, I'm amped. He's just like, this is huge. Where did you guys' anticipation level fit for this fight?
I lost all care for this fight about 2 years ago, 18 months ago. I was like, I don't care anymore. Once Pacquiao got starched and lay flat on the canvas, I went, well, it's just lost so much of its appeal now.
Yeah. He's
not riding this huge wave of momentum. But then as soon as it was announced, it all came back. As soon as it was announced, I was like a little kid. I can't wait.
Yeah, well, it was like Chuck Liddell against Vanderlei, right? It happened a few years too late, but then when it went down, you still had to watch it.
I had to watch it. There's no way.
It was better than this.
Yeah, it was better than this.
Without being the epic barn burner that Goldie and them made it out to be during the fight. I thought it was a good fight. I didn't think it was a great. I didn't think it was a classic.
No, it wasn't.
It took a long time to get going, that fight.
And the Mayweather did what he always does, and he made his opponent fight his fight. And anytime you can do that, chances of victory are really high. Manny fought a Manny-style fight for a total of 90 seconds, maybe, in that whole event. That was it.
Yeah.
The jab kept him away. The defense was too good. He just couldn't pull it off. So, technical boxing, really a very, very highly technical fight, but not good for the casual observer who's wanting to see people just stand in the middle of the ring and throw punches at each other.
That's an interesting point you make, because a lot of people, we talk about what's an appealing fight for MMA to draw people into the crowds. Sometimes a very technical fight can happen as well, and that's just not something people want to see. Offline, before we started recording here, we were talking about Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah.
And he just had that incredible last second of the fight in a 5th round title fight victory over Horiguchi. And he's still just underappreciated. Well, how come people can't resonate? How come a fight like that doesn't resonate with the casual fan?
I think in his case, it's two things. One is it's a size thing.
Yeah.
The baddest man on the planet is always going to be the heavyweight champion.
Yeah, but Mayweather and Pacquiao aren't big guys either.
Yeah, but no one's calling Mayweather the baddest man on the planet. It's just, we have, especially in the States, especially in the West, we have a tendency that it's the big dude's always the baddest dude.
Well, bigger is better, whether it's boobs or fighters. Right?
Yeah, exactly. But Demetrius Johnson is perfection. It's the closest thing you'll ever see to a perfect fight, a perfect performance, and he does it every single time.
So would you put him in the category of, your favorite fighters to watch? Like, do you anticipate when you see a Demetrius Johnson fight announced, does that get your blood going?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It does, but I like people who just take things to the next level. Like, as much as I like a guy like Mark Hunt, who will just plant his feet and throw overhands at you and slip punches and throw counters and just
still
stand
look
there
pretty
and
damn
bang.
good doing it.
Yeah, I like that. I like Vanderlei Silva versus Brian Stan, where they just decide they're going to stand there and go nuts. But
come on, there's no better fight than that.
those are obviously get the heart rate up.
Yeah.
But man, just watching people who are in that flow state as a martial artist, Anderson Silva when he's just matrixing out of the way, and Demetrius Johnson just being perfect in his execution.
And like, I'm not even like a hardcore boxing fan. I'm not even a casual boxing fan. I really am not a boxing fan. But even just from talking to boxing guys, it doesn't sound like there's anybody who generates excitement. And in MMA, there are guys who generate excitement.
I mean, like for the Mayweather fight, Pacquiao fight, I was home, tried to get the pay-per-view. It was jammed, couldn't get through, and I was like, I can't be bothered. If I watch it, I watch it. If I don't, I don't. I think boxing. I mean, the only two big names were Mayweather and Pacquiao, and now that's done with. I mean, what's next?
Yeah.
Who else are you gonna watch now?
Yeah, it's.
Who else are you gonna watch?
That's pretty barren. That's
it's
pretty
true,
barren.
man. Like, I mean, Mayweather's going to fight Amir Khan, I'm sure. Like, that's the next fight to make the last one on the contract. But that's going to do maybe 800,000 buys, maybe. Like, no one's going to watch. Like, it's the end. I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel for boxing. Like, I like boxing. I love watching it. It's a beautiful sport. But, that's consistency of big fights. It's access to fights. It's branding. It's names. It's the fact that in the sport, the fighters are bigger than the promotion. They dictate the terms. That leads to a lot of problems as well. Where Dana White or Victor Cui say, you are fighting you. And if you don't, they're going to go to the press and say, oh, Darren pulled out of the fight versus this guy. It's...
Or just didn't agree to even sign the contract.
Yeah, so...
Turned it down.
Yeah, he didn't want to fight scared. Like, that's part of the problem with boxing. There's too many belts.
So do you like how Dana White kind of goes public with that insider knowledge? Like, how do you? I'm quite polarized by the way that he treats his employees. It's incredible how much he can actually employee bash, which is a bizarre strategy. I mean, you're an entrepreneur, you're a businessman. Would you ever treat your employees in such fashion?
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting power placement. Like. It's good because he controls his market. He's got full PR control over a fighter's reputation. He really does. And it works. It does help him create the most exciting fights. That being said, if you're a fighter, you're a brand, right? If you're someone like Rashad Evans, who's, tasted glory, been really close, and then you look at this next fight and you go, man, if I take that fight, there's a strategy involved. I take that fight and I lose. What's that do for my career path, my trajectory? It's just not a good fight for me. It doesn't mean
Rashad overthinks way too much.
He's a extreme example, right? But
it's a good example.
But there is the need to pick your fights. Like, people don't want to admit it, but records matter, and you don't want to take 2 losses. You don't want to scrape by 2 wins, and then you fight a guy who's stylistically going to be boring. You got to protect your brand, and sometimes I think you can make these decisions, what's best for your career, but then get tarnished in the media as dodging this fight or ducking that guy. So it's a tough one, but it puts him in a good negotiating spot. Yeah,
but I also think that fighters these days in fight promotion, they just think statistics a bit too much, and therefore fighters going to fight safe. Because of statistics.
We talked about that. We talked about the fundamental difference between Pride and the UFC.
Yeah, so I like Pride because Pride fighters will fight because as long as they keep the crowds entertained, they fight hard, they're an interesting fight, they have a personality, win or lose, they come back to fight because they know the crowd wants to see them again.
Yeah, it's such an interesting dynamic, and I had Victor Cui on the show Saturday, and I talked to him about the types of fighters that he wants to bring to his organization. What's the philosophy behind that? And it's really quite different from the UFC. I think in the UFC there's a mix of, we want exciting barn burners, and then there's major championships and rankings, and you need to combine wins with excitement and all that. There's a lot of, it's very much a sport, and I think something like ONE FC, being that it's Asian based, there's a culture of martial arts. Yeah. It's not necessarily the culture of the sport. And Victor made some very, very interesting points about how professional sports in Asia are kind of non-existent. You're from the States. Where are you from, Brad?
Oklahoma.
You're from Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Where are you from, Darren?
Singapore.
Okay, you're from Singapore. All right, well, this is great because you guys can each give your opinion on this. But, I'm from Canada. I'm from France. In Western countries, athletes are rock stars.
Yeah,
they're idols.
Right.
And what you have people in Asia, it seems, that function at a very high level athletically, but there's no outlets for it. And something like ONE FC is becoming finally an outlet to billions of homes for people to see these unheralded athletes. Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And the ONE FC model is interesting because how do you go into a country, how do you go into a market that doesn't, when I moved to Asia 12 years ago, no one could spell MMA. Like, no one even heard of it. Like, it just didn't exist. And now it's, they're doing shows in Jakarta and KL, and people are now, from the first show I went to in KL, not having a clue what's going on, now there'll be a nice transition on the ground and people are cheering. Like, there's been a huge learning curve that people have taken pretty quickly. And that's now making it appealing for the athletes. I think before, there was no outlet for an athlete. You could be really good at Silat, and what does that mean? You could become a national champion boxer in your country, go represent your country in the SEA Games, and you're going to go pro? You're going to go? No, there was no outlet. So so it's interesting that he's given traditional martial arts and given these people a way to kind of express their form. Right. It's the first time it's ever happened, as far as I can tell, in Asia.
So Darren, you basically, with Fight G here, you run the oldest camp in Singapore.
Yeah.
Walk us through a little bit. What's the history of mixed martial arts in Singapore?
Well, whenever I first started mixed martial arts, everybody could get the striking bit. Everybody can get the takedown bit. When it came to the groundwork, nobody could get that. People thought, fights stop when you hit the ground.
At one point in your career, did this fascinate you? At what point did you want to start educating people on this?
Because I started with a background of Hapkido and I've done Muay Thai and I was training for a wrestler once. And he did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he did Sambo, and he did wrestling. And he actually opened up my eyes to look, the fight goes to the ground, it still carries on. There are ways where you can beat the guy on the ground.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a very unique thing because I've been exposed to only stand-up. So I found that really unique, and I said, and I used to work as a doorman, and I've seen fights go to the ground. So therefore,
they always do in a street fight,
right? So I thought that this might come in handy. So then I started training them.
Okay. So, is there, as far as Asian martial arts is concerned, in particular in Singapore, is there anything dishonorable about a fight going to the ground in their mentality, perhaps, where they're just like, a fight is supposed to be striking, it's supposed to be standing up? Is there anything there that could be a blockage to the acceptance of it?
Apparently, to some friends who've been in prison, you only fight standing up in prison. Fights are not allowed to go to the ground. If it goes to the ground, they stand you up.
Well, when I was in high school, and we'd have to settle things with a fight, Mexican knife fight. Yeah, I was a very rough school in suburbia USA. We'd fight, and I was a wrestler, but no matter what, when the fight went to the ground, you had to get up, and so you'd fight, someone would get hit and tackled to the ground, and then everyone would just stop the fight. It was just a gentleman's agreement. You had to stand up and start over. There was this is in the early 90s. There was no ground game whatsoever. No punch people in the face or no, just
there was no ground and pound.
Just get up and restart. That was the rule. So I think in the world, the outside of a few key martial arts, fighting is on the feet. That's what people think.
It's a major barrier. It's a major hurdle to overcome in this part of the world. For people to accept that this is actually something that you can compete at and that people are good at. That this ground game, the jiu-jitsu, the grappling, the wrestling.
Right. When I first started teaching, I had one really weird question. They asked me I understand groundwork, but how sure am I that the other guy is not gay and he's enjoying it?
Awesome.
Good head. I told the guy that, if he's enjoying it, then armbar him, make him not enjoy it.
Yeah, snap the capsule on his elbow, it'll change his tune real quick.
You get so accustomed to it. I remember I was helping teach here, and there was this kind of first timer, and I was helping in the no-gi class here, and I pulled him aside because he was his first time in the class. You could tell he was overwhelmed. I said, step to the side, I'll help you out. And I said, look, let me show you the drill they're doing. And it was just a guard bust pass drill. And I laid on my back, and I spread my legs and said, just come here, get my guard. And this dude stood above me and looked at me like,
it ain't gonna happen, dude.
What? And I realized I'm just lying here on the ground in tights with my legs spread and just asked this stranger and meant nothing to me. But I just had to change my perspective and go, yeah, I guess if you're uninitiated, this is a weird moment in your life. You know?
Well, and I'm sure, especially in Singapore, there's there's ramifications for that kind of behavior too, right?
Now, what Brad should have done is wink too.
Yeah,
so
little wink,
should have winked
and a little finger gesture.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite moves in the competition. If I
come hither,
I'll tell people they smell good. Like after a takedown, as I'm passing, if I'll pat me up by the ear. Nice shampoo. makes people very uncomfortable.
So Brad, if people Google you on Google, there's some amazing background story to you. You were very involved in your previous career. You were working in security, private security. You invested tremendously into your job. You were on airplanes, trains, automobiles, hotel food. Your weight spiraled out of control. You had an incident where you almost missed the birth of your child. They wouldn't let you into the hospital room because you couldn't fit into scrubs.
Yeah, that's right.
And it sounds like from that moment you had an epiphany in your life. You decided to radically change. You got your weight down to 170. You compete as a welterweight. You became a pro MMA fighter. How did you and Darren connect to make this happen?
I met a guy. I went to a white collar boxing event in like 2008 or 2009.
2008, I think.
Yeah, and I just had a couple of drinks, and it was just these bankers and just.
So these are like corporate dudes that train and then throw down.
It was a white collar boxing and Muay Thai event.
Yeah, so you have no martial arts experience. You sign up. They put you in a gym for 3 months, teach you how to cover up, throw ones and twos, and then let you go. Put big headgear, big gloves, and just let you beat each other up for 2 minutes at a time. There's charity, and it's a big. You bring all your friends, and I went to one of these as just in the audience. Bought a table for my crew and then for my company, and a few glasses of wine. I went, I could do that. I beat the snot out of those guys, and. Found myself in Darren's gym a couple months later, and there was a new event. And when I signed up for the event, the weight limit was 265 or 120 kilos.
And you were weighing what?
I was like 140 kilos. I was over 300 pounds.
Okay.
And the fight was 4 months away. And the guy was like, "I'm sorry,
you don't make the weight."
Yeah, and I just said, "All right, I'll make it." He was like, "What? 25 kilos to cut or what?" I'll make the weight. I'll do it.
And at that point, did you have any consultation? You had no clue how you're going to lose this weight. You just I'm going to make.
Just going to do this. Like I need this in my life. I want to do this. And I walked in here, met Darren, and he just looked at me nonchalantly.
Why'd you come here though? What year was this?
This was 2009, I think. Yeah, 2009. Yeah.
Okay.
And
were you like pretty much the only guy in town at that point, or was?
No, there are a few other gyms here.
Yeah, a few of the gyms, a few boxing gyms, and a friend of mine recommended me to come here, a friend of mine, Jamie, and he said, he goes, it's no fluff, it's no nonsense. He goes, but
get right to the nitty gritty.
They got to teach you how to fight.
And, we're actually recording this in the ring because there's construction going outside, and we were going to record, and it was knocking hammers and jackhammers. So I can attest to the fact that Fight G is a very lean, mean gym.
Yeah, it's results oriented.
No friends.
Yeah. It's get in and get your work done.
I'm sure that's a contrast to some of the other big name gyms here.
Yes.
And Darren. I told Darren what I had done. So I committed to lose all this weight and fight at this weight in this amount of time. And he just didn't even believe me. All right. I mean, you better do everything I say.
So how did you react when you saw this guy walking? Because you must have looked huge.
I was huge. Yeah, barely made it up the stairs.
This guy had anybody with that physical?
Yeah, when I see you walking in, I'm thinking, okay, you've got lost 25, but you've got a lot to lose, and that's possible. So I figured, this guy, I'm gonna hammer him, I'm gonna push him, I gotta make him work. But he was pretty disciplined, so that was easy. So yeah, I knew he could lose it. It was 3 months. You could definitely lose that.
So what happened?
It was awful. It was brutal. Like he's all right. Listen, this is your road work. This is your running. This is skipping, and man, I had no nutritional advice at this point yet.
So where'd you get it, Darren? Are you a nutrition guy? Or?
No, I just we eat clean before the fight, 6 weeks out. So yeah, but I mean
procedure, right?
I figured like with he told me what he's done before. He's not been doing it for a long time, so I figured like if we could just cardio him with the skipping, the pad work, and everything, he'll be fine.
Yeah, and I got there relatively. I didn't even really have to cut any weight for the weigh-in. I made weight pretty easy, and but man, I just was addicted. Just you've trained. You know what it's like when you're just dragging ass, and you just don't want to get up and go to that second session of the day, but you do it, and you can't wait to fall asleep. I just really got hooked on the outlet of this crazy amount of physical exertion every day. I
mean, this is another thing we talked about before we started recording. And so you now have a gym, Ritual.
Yeah.
And it's HIIT training.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, before you elaborate exactly what that is, what I really like about your story here is, okay, first of all, there's this radical change and that you embrace the change, and you didn't make it a temporary one. You've made radical lifestyle changes.
Yeah, very much so.
And you've also made radical, not just lifestyle changes, you've just made radical life changes.
Yeah.
You decided that the corporate rat race, that just didn't interest you anymore, to be away from your family, to not see them, growing up, for you to compromise your health for the long-term benefit of your friends and your family. I mean, those are all huge epiphanies that you had, and that you just almost, it seems like you instantly decided to find what are the solutions to all these problems and simultaneously attack them all at the same time. I think that's an interesting thing here, like the multitasking of it all, because you had a life going on at that point. You had major responsibilities. You were working for a big company. You had a wife. You had kids. And it's not easy to say, okay, these are all things that I want out of my life, but I also have to take into account all these other people that it impacts, and none of them can be compromised.
Yeah, yeah. It was a big time in my life of just. Sometimes you have to really stop and take stock. Like, it's so easy just to. Sometimes time just passes by. Like you just kind of float through this existence and you don't really take charge of it. And that's what I did. And I always had a good work ethic, and that panned out career-wise. I was making great money and all this, and then I just really stepped back, took stock, and went, this is not. If I would have, what I said to myself was, if I would have drawn a roadmap for my life, it wouldn't look like this. If I could have picked my lifestyle, I wouldn't look like this, I wouldn't feel like this, my schedule wouldn't be like this. This is not. So I just decided, like, well, what I can bitch about it or just go make changes. So. Thought about it, talked to some people, took some risks, and just, well, what do I care about?
Yep.
I care about this. What do I like? Well, I like this. Everybody says do what you care about. And all the people I admire and respect, who I went and talked to, said, yeah, if you got that voice in your head telling you got to go do this, you got to go do it.
Well, the beauty of it, too, is that you didn't need to really compromise your lifestyle, per se, because at least you had created some income for yourself. You created some equity for yourself, so you're able to make these decisions with some financial freedom at that moment.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
which really helps, right?
Luckily the company that I kind of started before this did very well. We had some windfall years, and definitely gave me a kind of a head start, as far as if I just would have been in a position where I just had the job and just living kind of paycheck to paycheck, it'd have been a much more difficult decision. But still one I probably would have found a way to. I may have had to take a different path, but I think I'd have got there eventually. Just because I think if you really listen, you know what you're supposed to do with your life. You really do, and sometimes you just gotta kind of take the jump, as you said earlier, as you have done.
So Darren, from this white collar boxing fight, again, and this is funny because we were talking about this before we started.
Right.
We were talking about people getting thrown into fights too quickly.
Right.
You obviously were here from the start of Brad's journey here.
Right.
At what point did you feel he was ready to take on a professional MMA fight, and why did you guys decide on the weight class that you did? Did you do your first fight out at middleweight, or was it welter?
My middleweight was my first, yeah.
So how long did it take you to get to middleweight, and when did you feel, what made you feel Brad was ready for that first fight?
Actually, I've competed at heavyweight, light heavyweight, middleweight, and welterweight. I've done it all. Well, maybe the only guy in the world that's done that.
In MMA?
In MMA. Amateur MMA, I did heavyweight and light heavyweight as well.
Crazy.
But it was a while before he let me.
Heavyweight, light heavyweight, middleweight, welterweight. I mean, like Kenny Florian, he's done 4 weight classes. He did everything from welterweight down to featherweight.
Which is crazy.
It's pretty wild. But I mean, yours is too. I mean, going from 320 pounds to 170. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah. The middleweight camp was tough. The first pro debut, that was tough.
So so for Brad's pro debut, Darren,
right?
What did he accomplish that you felt confident that you could put him into that fight?
When I invited him over for beer and chicken wings.
Good. Good answer.
Yeah. It's not a true story. I had an amateur MMA fight coming, or an amateur Muay Thai fight. I can't remember which one it was coming up. And, I was super serious and probably too serious. And Darren just called me one night and says, hey, we're out having a few drinks, some chicken wings. This place is great chicken wings. Come on down. I said, Darren, I have a fight in a week. Just come, relax, have some chicken wings, chill out, man.
Protein and spice. You'll shit it out.
Yeah, live a little bit, it's an amateur fight, and it took so much pressure away. You know what I mean? Like the fact that I can still get up and train tomorrow.
Coach says I can have beer and chicken wings.
Yeah.
You must be mad.
Yeah, and that was when I decided.
It's funny because it's like when I say that you're allowed to do something destructive, that means you're ready.
Yeah.
As opposed to hey, you need to be focused and disciplined and.
Yeah.
So literally, that's.
But it was years of focus and discipline and hell before it got to that point.
How long? So how long from the moment that you took that white collar fight to your first pro MMA bout?
It was 3 years. Yeah, it's been 3 years. But
you did stuff in between though. You did the one in Hong Kong and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, I did lots of. I was very active. Like I went from. I won that white collar fight and immediately started signing up for new stuff. Like just whatever competition was anywhere in the region, I would sign up for. This white collar fight, that white collar fight. I signed up for, at the time, Vusi Colosa had this event in Hong Kong where it was amateur boxing, then amateur Muay Thai, and then grappling, and then they hand selected the winners of that to fight in the finals in an amateur MMA tournament. So it was very cool. It was over like 6-8 months. You do a boxing tournament, Muay Thai tournament, grappling tournament.
So yeah, I mean, you really turned into a student of the game.
I was hooked. I was just hooked. I was in Japan one week doing a jiu-jitsu tournament, in the Philippines the next week doing something in Hong Kong. I just traveled and competed. That's all I did.
Have you ever had a student like this, Darren? Or, I mean, this seems like a pretty unique case. I'm sure as a coach, to see somebody with this type of drive, ambition, and versatility, that must be a pleasure to work with, no?
Yeah, I think the unique part, Brad, is actually at that point in time he was actually working. I've got kids who do this, who is this dedicated, but then again, all they have is just school.
Yeah.
So I think Brad's a very unique case from,
he's what, are you 35?
Yeah,
35?
From one spectrum of being a white collar at one point in time to now being a professional fighter, and all in the span of what?
5 years.
5 years?
6 years, yeah.
Yeah, from not knowing how to throw a jab in 5 years ago to where he is right now. I think that is really fast and unique.
Yeah, one of the other things that I love about this story about you, Brad, is not only have you yourself gone through such physical and philosophical transformation, you've also decided to extend everything that you've learned and encompassed here by starting your ritual gym. We were talking about that earlier. It's based on high intensity interval training.
Yeah.
I actually had the pleasure to do 10 weeks of that with John Priest, who's the head fitness coach out at Tiger Muay Thai last year. And having experienced it firsthand, I dedicated my life to getting to the best shape possible in 10 weeks. And I know HIIT training was a huge part of it. For people who don't know what HIIT training is, can you just walk them through it?
Yeah, so the ritual concept is really based around this high intensity interval training is what HIIT training is. And without getting to the science too specifics, the concept is, you're going to make yourself really uncomfortable. Push your heart rate, cross this kind of this invisible metabolic,
threshold.
This anaerobic threshold where you're now in oxygen debt and your body is trying to recover from this oxygen debt. And we've all had that feeling. You go do sprints and your hands are shaking, you get tingles in your, oh God, you're gonna really panic breathe to get your breath back. That's what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, severe physical discomfort.
Yeah, and the kind of the secret sauce of this style of training is not only are you getting in shape and you're burning calories, you're moving around, and you balance it with some muscle building stuff. It's got a lot of positive benefits. But what happens is if you get on a treadmill for an hour and you go for a light jog for an hour and you're at 70% heart rate or whatever fat burning zone they tell you to be in, you get off that treadmill, it's over. If you burn 200 calories in that run, you burn 200 calories, that's it. Now you can do a 20-minute, a 10-minute, a 5-minute, really brutal high intensity interval training session. And you can burn roughly the same amount of calories as you did on that run, and you did it in less time. But the difference is because of the disruption created from the oxygen debt during your panic, oh God, I gotta recover. Your body's got to recover from that, and it's going to recover from that after your training, while you're sleeping, the next morning. 36, 48, 50 hours, they've measured this afterburn effect. And so you're burning calories as your body recovers long after the workout's done. So you're getting just more bang for your buck. And for me, when I learned about this training, it was from my business partner in Ritual, Ian. It changed my whole life because I thought every training session needed to be 2 hours in the gym and grind it out, do my strength work, do my cardio work, go do this.
Yeah, it was really a more is more mentality, right?
Yeah, it really was. Like, I just got to do more. And then when you really read the science and get behind it, you go, actually, that's really a broken way to think. So the Ritual concept allowed me to live a full life, be a good dad, do my skill work with Darren that I needed to do, run my business, and get fit and lose weight because I wasn't.
So there was also an efficiency reason for you in here. I mean, it sounds like you're accountable for almost every minute of your day.
I have to. I have
you're one of the most incredible multitaskers on the planet, you know.
I have a very bad case of biting off more than I can chew. I do it all the time.
I do too. It sucks.
And you just got to chew like hell. So I can't waste a lot of time.
Chew like hell.
So
that'll be the name of this episode.
Yeah, chew like hell. That's the way I love living that way.
So the world of fitness and nutrition, I believe we've been learning so much, perhaps in the last 5 to 10 years, than we have probably in the history of mankind.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's full of fads. You hear about CrossFit, you hear about HIIT training. What are some of the pros? Like, what are some of the reasons why people should consider HIIT training, and who is HIIT training for?
So, it's the fitness world is complex. Like, full of fads, and kind of our internal strapline for Ritual is, we wanted to put it on the business card at some point, is no BS, just because fitness is really broken. The whole industry is just full of nonsense when it comes to the advice that's out there. So, we wanted to give you the most no nonsense, no BS for a regular person. Like if you're a perfect example. You're on this mission to build this brand and build this network of these podcasts out there. You're traveling all the time. You're super busy, and you're not a professional athlete. So do you need to spend your life in the gym and all that sort of stuff? No. You need the most efficient, effective, safest way to get results. Like for most people, 99% of the people who exercise, it's just something they need to tick off their to-do list. It's not the focus of their whole life.
No.
It's pick the kids up, finish that presentation, answer those emails, go get a flu shot, I should exercise, and that's it. That's as much thought. So we try to high intensity
interval, taking a crap in a shower.
Exactly.
Morning, right?
Like it's just like high intensity interval training is that. It's the most efficient way to get results. And if you tie that up with some decent nutrition, you're going to be fine. We're going to keep you off blood pressure medication. We're going to keep your cholesterol down. Your heart's going to get a good workout. You're going to build some lean muscle, burn fat, all in one go. So it's good for real everyday folks with real everyday problems.
Now you also focus tremendously on the safety aspect of it, and I can attest that I've done CrossFit and I find it extremely dangerous, and I've done HIIT training, and while not 100% safe, you're still doing stuff. You're still shocking your body. You're still doing things that your body's not used to. And in the case like myself, where I decided to just black out everything else in my life and try to just focus on training, I was going very hardcore. So I experienced some minor tweaks and incidents, but ultimately, I loved doing the workouts. I got tremendous results. If you look at the before and after, like I walked into a gym in Phuket and said, I want to come out of here looking like a UFC fighter.
Yeah.
And in 10 weeks I did it.
And
I was just a sloth sitting on a chair. I was never fat or anything, but I've just been one of those guys. I was still 180 pounds of kind of mushiness, and chipmunk cheeks and shit, right? So it totally worked for me. I found it incredibly safe. How would you compare something like this to a CrossFit, and how much do you make an emphasis on safety so that people come in there, like you said, that their lives are complex, they can't be injured, people need to type, people need to go get their kids, they can't be banged up, they can't have a jacked up rib or
That's it. I mean, if we're huge on safety because if when I was trying to get in shape and I was this career athlete at the time and just if I would have needed to take time off for rotator cuff surgery because I was in a competition next to the guy next to me doing push-ups, and I blew my shoulder out exercising, that's a disaster. It's just the worst thing.
And just not worth it.
Like, what's the
There's
point?
no gain
Like,
to it,
what's
you know?
it's exercise, man? Like, everyone needs to it's just exercise. So it's not just the overzealous, ego types that get injuries. It's also the fact that I'm sitting at my desk every day, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, and my trunk is just turned off. You're just sitting at your desk, you're sitting on the train, your trunk is off, you're sitting in bad position, your shoulders are rolled forward because you're on your phone all day or on your computer, and then you want to hop into an exercise session. Guess what? Your body's not ready for it yet.
Body's getting shocked.
It's not ready for you. So you need some prep work, and you need really good attention to detail, and also the programming. Most gyms, I don't want to say most gyms, a lot of gyms just throw exercises on a chalkboard and go, that looks hard, make them do that. But there's overuse injuries. You got to balance stuff out. People today do all kinds of push-ups.
That's what I had. I had overuse injuries.
Overuse injuries
Just
are
my
the most
body
common.
has never done this stuff, and he just said, "Stop.
So
I need a week to chill out."
You need
had a what's this muscle right under the armpit that you clench every time that you're seizing your chest when you do anything, whether you're running, push-ups, anything, and I just got inflamed. Both of these, and I just couldn't use my upper body. But it wasn't. You couldn't pinpoint it to one thing of like, hey, we're going overboard on this and that. It's just you're just doing stuff all the time your body's never done. It's
not doing the right corrective work. So, you need for the everyday person, you need a ratio of somewhere like 3 or 4 to 1 pulling to pushing exercises.
Yeah.
Everyone does pushing all the time. We push doors open. Where everything is anterior loaded. It's the front of our body. But nobody does pulling. How many people can do a pull-up or do a vertical row, or it's an area of weakness. So you've got to have a really well-balanced program that gives people a chance to do corrective work, because if your shoulders are rolled forward, you're actually off balance and susceptible to injury. So you got to work on getting those shoulders pulled back, get the posture fixed, get those rear delts, and get your back engaged. Learn how to reactivate those muscles so that you're not in bad position. So if you like I said, if you just jump into a burpee challenge straight off your desk for the last 7 years, there's a really good chance you're going to come out of there limping.
Well, that's funny too, because if you go to Phuket, it's a spot that's designed for tourists to come train,
right?
And you get a lot of desk guys, you get a lot of sloths, and they're just like, oh God, I'm here for 1 month, I have to just go all out and get the maximum gains. They show up, they overtrain, in 3 days, they're injured left, right, and center, and they're out of their training.
And even if they survive and don't get injured, there's a real risk, that they're going to compromise their immune system. Like
they get sick very quickly.
Yeah, what happens is, fit exercise is very destructive. People think it's good for you. No, the recovery is good for you. When you become better because you've rested, it's good for you. When you're doing heavy bench press, heavy deadlifts, you're doing sprints or whatever you're doing, you're tearing cells apart. You're doing damage to your body. It's really hard on your body, and your immune system has to fire up to deal with that. Now, if you're not conditioned, you're not well rested, you're not well fed, or you're just out of shape, and you put your body through this, guess what?
Well, your immune system's going to prioritize healing the damage, right?
Yeah, correct.
So obviously, then the resources of your body are going to go towards this damage and not towards preventing a flu or a cold or a.
And something Darren manages all the time with fighters here is just So tell me, Antoine, how you feeling today? How'd you sleep last night? How's you look a bit ragged today. When people start telling you look tired, don't train today.
Do I look okay?
Yeah, you look fine today.
I should, because I'm feeling haggard.
Because I find a lot of athletes these days, although they don't know their own body.
Yeah.
Like for me, I know, for example, if I'm in fight camp, the first 2 weeks, I know I'll get a fever. I'll get a fever for
when
2
you're training to
when
fight
I'm training
yourself.
to fight, So when I start fight camp, I know within the first 2 weeks, I'll get a fever. The fever lasts for 2 days, and after it's like basically I feel like that's my body's way of resetting itself.
Interesting.
So a lot of these fighters, when their body tells them something, they don't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Well,
a lot of times.
The reputation that you have, Darren, is that you're somebody that really cares about your fighters. I mean, I've heard that from multiple people. And you're a veteran. I mean, dare we say old school
Old school.
martial arts trainer, Muay Thai
Very old
guy.
school.
And one of the stunning things, you know, when you're training at a place like Tiger Muay Thai, is that they offer strength and conditioning, but then they offer traditional Muay Thai. And you see that a lot of people go there and they just do traditional Muay Thai, and they don't take into account the strength and conditioning part.
Right.
Have you, I mean, like I said, your gym is no frills. Have you integrated strength and conditioning and some of these principles that Brad's referring to into training here, or do you have your fighters train elsewhere for that?
Basically, our fighters go to Ritual for training. For the strength and conditioning, Ritual.
So there's a real working
Yes.
collabo there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that. That's
Yes.
cool. That
Yes.
seems perfect. They come here, get their MMA
skill-
on,
get their
over
skill
there,
training
just get
here.
their strength and conditioning on, done.
Yeah.
Separate facilities. Yours is equipped to do that adequately. Yours is equipped.
So
to
we
do
could go one step further. Like for example, like
Are you far from here?
No, they're
just down the road.
Same road.
Oh,
just
awesome.
A
Okay.
couple hundred meters.
Oh, awesome.
So things that I'll give them feedback, like I need more snap power with this guy. He's a bit too weak on wrestling. So I actually would tell them like what I find the weakness of each fighter is, and then Ritual set up a program for them to to get them stronger than we part.
So, when you see the Muay Thai fighters now,
Right.
a lot of them still haven't adopted strength and conditioning to their routines. Do you think that's a mistake? Do you think that there's room for incredible growth from a new generation of Muay Thai fighters that could take on strength and conditioning and make that a part of their routine?
I think yes, strength condition is one thing, but also it's got to do with the rehab work also.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like for me, like I was old school. My condition is clap push-ups. Doing pull-ups. Throwing medicine balls. Throwing shot putts. So it's an old school way of conditioning. But what we never had was the rehab after that. Which I think the old school people still did their form of conditioning. But we never ever did rehab.
And that's it. I'm sure, Brad, you have so much to say about that.
Well, and we went through a rash here for a while of a lot of shoulder injuries, and
Which
not
are
just here.
with knee injuries are just the worst.
But we noticed it was really prevalent in the strikers, and in the we finally figured it out. It's just these guys weren't doing enough corrective work. They weren't doing their homework that they were given. So now we build it in. Like if you see these guys, great fighters, but they have this C-shaped posture all the time because they spend so many hours of their life hunched over, in a striking position. So now we have them, listen,
neck tucked in.
yeah, every day we want you doing this many rows and this many varied rows and this many YTWLs and all
And
this
they must
Superman work.
hate it.
Yeah, but you know
They're
what?
just like, what is this doing? It's
Shoulders
like,
aren't
it's
coming out of
fixing
socket
it, dude.
anymore either,
Yep.
So it's just, but it's all education. Like old school guys just didn't know, it just didn't exist. Knowledge wasn't out there. But like you said, the last 5 years or so,
This is tremendous.
it's tons of information out there.
So let's talk about recovery and talk about sleep. I read something interesting about you where you turn off the lights and mobile devices after 10:30 p.m. at night, and I'm pretty sure you and I have done some similar research on that front. I've been unable to sleep correctly for my entire adult life. I'd say that from the age of 18 on, I'd maybe get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and I think it's more exhaustion than sleep.
Yeah.
So I started looking into this, and I worked in video games. I work on my laptop all the time. I'm constantly on my iPhone, constantly on my iPad. It's just what I have to do for entertainment and for professional reasons. So I started looking into it, and I realized that there's been some research done where they indicate that looking at LCD screens, an LCD screen, the light spectrum within it is equivalent to the light spectrum of the sun. So by constantly looking at a screen all the time, you're tricking your body into not creating any melatonin in your brain.
right, yeah.
But you're tricking your brain into not creating any melatonin in your body, and melatonin is your natural sleep regulator. So I basically had unregulated sleep my whole life. You're a family guy. You have kids. Kids are addicted to these devices from the second they get them. And we're probably in the process of creating an entire nation or world of people with sleeping problems because the very gestures that they're doing are causing them to shut down the melatonin creation in the bodies. So what I did is I started looking into solutions for this, and there's a brand of glasses out there called Gunner. Have you heard of Gunner?
Yeah,
So I bought a pair, and so they're basically glasses that you can wear that filter out the blue part of the light.
Yeah.
So it's good to wear them all the time, and it's particularly good to wear them at night. And I've been wearing them, and I've actually encountered some decent success with it. I've never had a problem falling asleep, but I managed to stay asleep longer. I still wish I could sleep better for maybe 1 or 2 hours, but the fact that I've been jumping in and out of airplanes, and I've been in probably 150 hotels and different beds in the last year and a half because of all the traveling I've been doing, different food, different time zones, so I'm just a constant mess. But I have found that it's beneficial. Is this why you turn off your devices as well?
It is. I just found, like, I used to pride myself in operating on little sleep. I'm 4 hours a night,
sleep
bro.
when I'm dead.
That's all I need. But
got shit to do.
when I really started getting involved in athletics and pushing my body, that shit just doesn't cut it anymore. Like, recovery would be down, I'd be sick all the time, sniffles all the time, and same sort of stuff. Started digging into pineal gland and this and that, and because I was the guy who'd fall asleep on the iPad or on the laptop working until I just can't keep my eyes open.
Yep.
And sleep was never solid. As soon as I put some kind of sleep hygiene in place and decided that I'm going to protect my sleep at all costs, I'm going to start winding down, I'm going to turn off all these screens and all this nonsense and just read a book, it improved dramatically. It really made a difference. And because of it, I went from being the alarm would go off and I just had,
dread. I never use an alarm though, because I'm just so conditioned to work that my body it doesn't matter what country, what time zone, when and where I wake up at 7 in the morning.
Yeah, I
haven't used an alarm clock in 20 years.
Since I started that, I'm the same. I've never ever used an alarm clock. No, just if I have to get up, I'll just get up. But it was only that. And I never wake up with that crap. How am I going to get through the day feeling? It never happens anymore.
That's fantastic.
So the sleep thing's important, man. Like, even if you forget the athletics and all that, it's just you want to live longer. You want to be happier,
get better sleep.
Yeah,
that's still a work in progress for me, dude. Offline, I'm sure I can get some other advice from you, but it's just I just can't seem to get my sleep right.
Whiskey's a huge. Strongly recommend just drinking straight whiskey right before you go to bed.
Vodka's not working for me.
How much whiskey again?
Oh man, crazy. So let's get back to some fight talk. You fought 3 fights, you're 2-1. You are assigned 1 FC fighter. What's next for you on that front?
Don't know. I just kind of waiting on them to give me the call. I was supposed to fight for them late last year, but a fight I was really looking forward to in Singapore, but I got a cut over my eye. I was training in San Francisco, and just a couple weeks after the fight, just bad luck, caught a knee to the eyeball and busted the eye open, so I had to pull out of that one. And then, I don't know, just kind of wait and see, wait for the phone call.
You trying to stay at 170?
It kind of depends on how much. What I've told Matt Hume and Victor is, give me 2 to 3 weeks notice. I'm always in pretty much decent fight shape. If I have a full camp, if I got 8 weeks or so, I'll do 170. If it's a short notice fight, I'll just stick around at middleweight and do that. So
as far as your fight career, it seems like you're both ambitious and realistic about it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
What's the end goal for you there? I mean, is it just to keep proving to yourself that you can do this?
Yeah. It started off. I think the first one. I never had MMA ambitions. I didn't. It was
he just loves to fight.
Yeah, I think so.
He just loves to fight.
I did the first one, and I thought, okay, I'll take that one off the bucket list. I'm done with that.
Yep.
But within an hour after, I was okay. When am I going to do that again? It's just,
you're obviously a thinker. I'm sure you went back and you probably dwelled on what you did right, what you did wrong, what you can improve, what you would do next time.
Yeah, I'm at a point now where I'm very lucky that I don't have to fight for a career. That's a tough life. Like, if you got to fight to put food on the table, and that's a tough gig. So I'm very blessed there that I get to live both these worlds, where I have a career that I like, and I get to do this as well, on the side. But I'm at a point now where I fight, and it's really I'm in it for control of my own emotion. That's what I've thought about this a lot. And when I'm in the gym and I'm training at a high level with good people who are better than me, I perform excellent. And you talk to a lot of people this way, and they go, "But yeah, I just didn't pull it off when I was in the cage. It just didn't happen." And I felt that. And I'm the same person. I had the same skill set when I walked into that event and didn't perform well as I did 2 weeks before when I was kicking ass in the gym. So the only difference is
so frustrating.
My own head.
Yeah.
So if you look at the greatest fighters in the world, they can manage that, and I think that's fascinating. So I've got this whole quest now about just managing my performance and managing my emotions and fear and adrenaline, and I want to start performing. Even if I win, lose, or draw, I just want to know that, yeah, that was the fight I was supposed to fight, and that's what I haven't done lately. And
Are
now
you
that's
taking
kind of
any
my quest.
formal steps to improving the mind?
I am, yeah. I've worked with a guy who, he's a sports psychologist, and
What's his name?
Is Scott Stevenson,
Okay.
and I've worked with
He's in
him.
Phuket too.
He was, yeah.
Oh, was he in Phuket?
Great guy. He's worked with a lot of athletes, a lot of CEOs, a lot of kind of
Okay.
high-powered folks, and I wasn't really into the whole. That I thought you just work your way through it, just work harder than the other guy, but
Power through it.
tell you there's something to it. Like there's something to visualizing what you want to do, something to being mindful in your practice every day. That there's something about actually stopping, clearing your mind, visualizing what you want to do, saying it out loud, repeating it. There's something to it, and I feel like I've got a better control over the fear aspect, and because it's fear, it's all it is. And anyone who says they're not scared, they're a bold-faced liar. I'm not scared when I fight is a liar. It's terrifying.
Yeah, how can you not be?
So that's the part for me that's the reason I want to do it again, because I've never walked out of a fight. If you watch after every fight, I always have kind of a look of like relief or disappointment, not this ecstasy that you see most of the time. It's always like, okay, I got the win there, but
Well, it sounds like you're treating it really like a test.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be fighting Ben Askren for the welterweight title. I don't see that in my future. I think I can make a good run and stack up a couple of good wins, but
What would make you happy in terms of accomplishments as a fighter in MMA? What would give you some closure if you had to reach that?
I want a war, and
Just
not
a barn burner.
and not a non-technical stand in the middle of the ring and go for. But I want one of those fights where going into the third round, I look at Darren and it's just too close to call, and it's just I want one where I walk out and feel like I had nothing left. I've never had that. Like I've always walked out with plenty in the tank. I want to walk out of one and go like, okay. Yeah.
What's an example of a fight that you've seen like that? What's a fight that you've seen where you're like, I want to have a fight like that? What's an example?
Bigfoot and Mark Hunt.
Yeah.
That fight to me, like
I almost jumped up on the table in the bar. I was in Miami because it was right before New Year's.
Goosebumps right now thinking about that fight.
Was it right before New Year's or right after? Yeah, it was right before. Yeah. But yeah, I was vocally yelling at that fight.
Yeah.
I can't believe that Mark Hunt couldn't find a way to finish him. And I was just screaming uppercuts, dude.
Yeah.
Uppercuts at one point. Bigfoot was just leaving these huge holes between his elbows.
Yeah,
And I was like, dude, and Mark Hunt's got those psycho uppercuts.
And then you realize he had 2 broken hands. Like,
did he?
Yeah, he broke his hands in the
Mark
second round.
Hunt had both of them? I
Yeah,
didn't
he
know
posted
that.
the X-rays.
I
After,
didn't-
he
I
broke
didn't
his
know that.
hands.
And Mark Hunt going for a takedown?
Yeah, that's why. Remember in the 5th round, he was just throwing elbows.
Yeah.
His hands were dead.
Like Uriah Faber against, against Mike Brown in
Yeah,
a
Mike
rematch.
Brown, yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Uriah
so-
Faber. Is there anyone tougher than that? And he's fighting in the Philippines in a few days.
I love watching him fight. That's a crazy
It's Frankie
fight.
Edgar, dude.
Frankie Edgar, Uriah Faber is an amazing matchup.
It is.
People aren't paying attention to that.
And it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like, really? Like, wow, that's actually,
That's a great
I
fight.
think Frank is the one who has a lot to lose.
Yeah, that's
He's
a tough fight for him.
Fighting Uriah in a non-title fight. He never loses non-title fights.
He never loses non-title fights. It's true. Very true. But yeah, I mean that's the level of fight. Because it's not about the level of violence. It's not about blood and all this. It's just the.
Do you mind getting punched though?
No, I really don't. Like once you're in there, you don't really like.
So you've quickly understood, even just 3 fights into your career, this is going to happen.
I think what you're trying to say, a fight that will put everything you've trained, everything you work
With a worthy
on the
opponent.
line.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I want
a test.
That's it. I want to have that moment of like just where you reflect on it and you go like, even if it doesn't go your way, but where you just go like, God damn, it was a good one.
And that was a great MMA fight where you get the clinch, you get the takedowns, you get the submission attempts, you get the striking. You know what 2 great fights were like there? Kazuo Misaki against Jorge Santiago in Dream. Was it Dream? Or no, it was Sengoku. It was Sengoku.
Sengoku, yeah.
And both of those, anybody listen to this,
Yeah.
you think you've seen it all.
Yeah.
You haven't seen it all. So you've
Go
seen
find
those
that
2
fight.
fights and you see how they play out. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I want one of those.
barn burner MMA fights.
Grit and reversals and just
Both guys get
how did
dropped.
he get out of
Both guys
that?
get
You know,
knocked
like,
down.
oh my
Yep.
God, he's back up on his feet. Yeah, I want.
Both of those fights in the top 10 MMA fights of all time.
Yeah, I want one of those. That'll be my.
Okay, there you go.
That'll be the
That's
one.
the objective.
I want one of those.
Awesome. So Darren, what about you? Any big plans for your gym? How's Fight G doing?
Fight G's doing good.
Yeah.
We've got more affiliates. I think we've got 4 affiliate gyms in India now.
Oh, fantastic.
So we're just working with India, trying to affiliate more plans of one in maybe in Johor.
So how do you affiliate? Describe that. Like, what do they take from you that they apply in their gyms?
Our whole system actually.
Okay.
So our teaching curriculum, our lesson plan, our teaching syllabus, they take that and they implement it in India.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And besides that, training a few other killers here. So
Okay. Who's training here that's noteworthy?
We've got Alan, who's in the national Muay Thai team.
Okay.
From Muay Thai, we've got this girl called Wei Shi. We call her Spider because she looks like Anderson Silva, but like the Chinese version.
Okay.
We might have Joshua if he listens to his coach over there. He's sitting over there.
Yep.
We might have him if he listens to his coach. We've got a few other guys like Glenn who are up and coming.
Okay.
So I think we'll put them to the test in about 3 months' time.
Okay.
And
Do you have any like sponsored fighters here that are in some major promotions in 1FC or?
right now, no. We find a lot out of Malaysia. So Malaysia, it's just like 1 fight contracts. So we're trying to get a few of them signed, maybe in about 4 months' time.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of undiscovered, and it's kind of what we touched on earlier. Like Darren's very good about trying to bring people up slowly. You know, it's easy to get kind of thrown to the wolves because there's just up until recently there was never an outlet. It was like it was I did an amateur Muay Thai fight and now I'm in 1FC because there was nowhere else to go. Like especially in Singapore, there was no amateur circuit. There was no feeder shows or any of that stuff. It was just, oh yeah, one fight you did in such and such country looked okay. Let's go for it.
With really no data behind it at all.
Yeah, you know,
Other
so
than just what that fighter who wants to fight in 1FC is indicating. Right?
correct. Yeah, correct. And then there's the other example, which is me, who I just pounded my chest, made enough noise, and called Victor and called Matt Hume just to get me.
So did you actually just stop
I
them to get
harassed
the
them.
fight?
Yeah,
Awesome.
I harassed. Yeah, like come on, man, come on.
Oh, dude, it's what I've been doing with these podcasts, man. I'm just, I won't take no for an answer. It's like I want to promote you. I want to talk at you. You interest me. Get on the show.
Yeah,
You know?
I was relentless with Matt Hume, and finally
awesome.
his email back was fine. Squeaky wheel gets the oil. Here's your contract. Like that's how it started.
Very cool.
You know, so
Very cool.
yeah. So you know, I think sometimes you gotta do that. But there's a lot of really like the kind of latest wave of guys that come in this gym are really talented. Like
Some scary guys.
really talented. I'm glad they're not my weight class talented. You
Yep.
know? So
Smaller,
yeah. Thank goodness.
of course. So Darren does the affiliates, and you're trying to franchise Ritual. What are you doing at that level?
So Ritual is as much as I love MMA and hanging out in the gym and trying to help out his younger fighters as well and train with the guys and all that. You know, my 5:30 in the morning starts with Ritual. Like I'm trying to grow that brand, and we have a big expansion plan. We're off to the States. We got stuff going to Hong Kong now. We got some stuff going on.
Do you currently just have one location?
We have three. We have 2 here and 1 in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And we should be open in the States by the end of Q4. We should have our first outlet open in San Francisco. So things are really busy there.
That's really cool.
You know, it's been a labor of love as well. Like
I commend you on that. I just because I've done the HIIT training thing and I saw what it does, I'm kind of envious. You got a good idea here, dude.
Thanks, man.
Like
thanks.
when I saw that, I was like, shit, that's a smart friggin' idea.
Yeah,
Like,
the model
because it's safe, it's fast. I mean, basically, you promise to get people in and out in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
How many times a week do you encourage people to come?
You know, you come as unlimited times, but 3 or 4 is kind of what we try to get people.
So
to
if
do.
you can just take 2 hours.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
including changing, cleaning up, like walking in the door and out the door, dressed in normal clothes.
And our pitch is, so when we came up with the business model, we started a whiteboard and said, all right, we kind of got this concept of, Ritual. Why don't people go to the gym? Let's make a list of all these excuses. And then we started trying to get rid of them. And what came out of that reverse engineering process was Ritual. So things like, you know, if you've done classes and signed up, I got to make the 6:30 whatever, yoga, Muay Thai, Zumba, whatever your thing is. It's just another stressor. I got to make that 6:30, and now traffic, and now a conference call, or my personal training session.
Oh.
So we said, well,
dependencies on outside people, outside
correct.
structures, outside schedules, and everybody hates that. So how do you?
So what we said was, we're going to have a new session starting every half an hour, and our members log in, they book their spot. I want to do Antoine says, I want to log in real quick. I want to take the 2 o'clock.
So what do you have? You have an app?
Yeah,
You have a website?
So mobile website or through the app, you log on, you book your 2 o'clock. And let's say if something comes up, you can't make it. Just log back on real quick, cancel it. No problem. You can book your slot 2 minutes before or 2 days before.
Okay. But you do have to book it.
Yeah, you got to book
You
it.
can't just show up without booking.
Yeah. So then you go.
But it sounds like you could book it from the moment
You can
park
book it
your car and
2
you're walking
minutes,
into
correct.
Yeah, exactly.
So then you go, as long as there's a spot available, you go, oh, cool, I'm in. And then so you go, my 2 o'clock canceled, but I can do the 3. So you just change it to the 3 o'clock.
Okay.
So then we've taken away the stressor of I got to make this time and all that. And then we say, what's the other excuse? Gym clothes are a pain in the ass, right? Like hauling around a bag with clean clothes and then now dirty clothes.
Okay, this is crazy.
So we provide your clothes,
Really?
workout attire. We take your sizes when you walk in the door and you do your assessment. So when you
So you can literally show a briefcase in hand.
and a suit and tie and then we have a special kind of a TerraFlex floor so you can train barefoot.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about gym shoes, because some of the feedback during our market research was these guys, listen, I work for this crazy high-powered hedge fund. I can't nip out for a coffee with a client carrying a gym bag. My boss is not, he'll know what's up. I can't carry gym shoes around. So we ditched that as well. So, and then we have meal replacement shakes on the way out the door, so you can literally on your lunch break or, you know, just a post-workout shake, hit a smoothie, have it waiting for you when you're done.
So this is just no excuses.
It is.
If this is important to you, you can make the half hour.
Yeah, so that's our business model is just like, we didn't invent anything. High intensity training's been around a long time. We just
But you compiled
we packaged it really well.
You're creating an ecosystem, though.
Yeah,
Where there's just
correct.
no possible excuses.
Correct.
It's like if you're living and breathing and you care about being healthy and fit, you can make time for this.
That's it. And we also, gyms are intimidating.
Yeah.
Right? I fight in a cage in front of 20,000 people, and I walk into a new gym and I feel this weird sense of intimidation, no matter where I go, right? Like, so we really work to we don't have mirrors, none of that nonsense, no people flexing, no meathead stuff, just
Come
cool
in.
people. We know your name. We go out of our way to make it a cool culture, and our philosophy is I want to make your 30 minutes at Ritual the best half hour of your whole day.
I want to go try it, dude.
Yeah, that's so we come down
I
after
want to
this.
try it. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's the model. I mean,
I don't have my gym. Actually, wait, I have all my clothes out of my bag here. I gotta change hotels.
it looks like you just travel with a suitcase everywhere you go.
Ridiculous, man. Well, guys, this was awesome. I know you're super busy. I know you're flying to San Francisco tomorrow.
Yeah,
So that's to discuss the expansion of Ritual. All right, man. I'm sure you got all sorts of things to do before you do, so I'm going to let you guys go. One last thing. How can people follow you guys on social media?
I'm on the Facebook.
The Facebook.
Fan page on Facebook that I try to keep updated pretty regularly. It's just Brad Robinson MMA.
Yep.
And then we're Ritual Gym on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all that. You can find us all.
Are you on Twitter personally as well?
I'm not. No,
Okay.
I'm.
Do you manage the Ritual account
Yeah.
on there?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just follow us on Facebook, Fight G MMA Singapore.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No Instagram, no Twitter.
Instagram, perhaps. I don't handle this, you know.
If you search 5G, it's on
The
there.
5G.
Okay.
He's far too important for that. He has people do that for him.
Awesome. Well, listen, guys, your story is fantastic. It's really cool to see, great minds thinking alike and coming together and, having people take radical life decisions and achieve them. I'm impressed.
Well, thanks a lot, man.
It's very cool.
Thanks
Very
for
cool.
having
Thanks
us
for
on.
coming on the
Yeah,
show,
thanks for having
and hope you get another big fight. I hope it turns into some
Yeah, we hope we get another big fight soon.
Really shit with you knocking the Brian Stanley.
I hope so.
that
Man.
fight.
I really hope so. I need one of those. Need one of those so I can retire in peace.
Yeah, well, that wasn't an MMA fight. That was just a slobber knocker. But
Yeah.
those are always good too.
But I've watched like 9 times.
Oh, I love that fight. I love both those guys. Classic. Awesome. This was the Trash Talk MMA podcast with my special guests, Brad Robinson and Darren De Silva from One FC Fighter, Ritual Gym, and Fight G in Singapore. It's been a slice, guys. We're out of here. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Facebook.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Trash Talk MMA podcast.
Yeah.
Be sure to visit trashtalkmma.com.
On my face, behind my back, they talk trash.
And don't forget to follow Antoine on Twitter at Trash Talk MMA.
That's what you said.
Let us know you're listening.
Who the fuck said shit?
Use hashtag Trash Talk MMA.
You know, but you know, Demetrius Johnson is perfection. It's the closest thing you'll ever see to a perfect fight, a perfect performance, and he does it every single time.
So would you put him in the category of your favorite fighters to watch? Like, do you anticipate when you see a Demetrius Johnson fight announced, does that get your blood going?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It does, but I like people who just take things to the next level. Like, as much as I like a guy like Mark Hunt, who will just plant his feet and throw overhands at you and slip punches and throw counters and just
Still
stand
look
there
pretty
and bang.
damn good doing it.
Yeah, I like that. I like Vanderlei Silva versus Brian Stan, where they just decide they're going to stand there and go nuts. But
Come on, there's no better fight than that.
those
No
are
better
obviously
fight.
get the heart rate up.
Yeah.
But man, just watching people who are in that flow state as a martial artist, you know, Anderson Silva when he's just matrixing out of the way, and Demetrius Johnson just being perfect in his execution.
And like, I'm not even like a hardcore boxing fan. I'm not even a casual boxing fan. I really am not a boxing fan. But even just from talking to boxing guys, it doesn't sound like there's anybody who generates excitement. And in MMA, there are guys who generate excitement.
I mean, like for the Mayweather fight, Pacquiao fight, I was home, tried to get the pay-per-view, it was jammed, you know, couldn't get through, and I was like, I can't be bothered. If I watch it, I watch it. If I don't, I don't. I think boxing, I mean, the only two big names were Mayweather and Pacquiao, and now that's done with. I mean, what's next?
Yeah.
You know, who else are you gonna watch now?
Yeah, it's
who else are you gonna watch?
That's pretty
it's
barren. That's
it's
pretty
true,
barren.
man. Like, I mean, Mayweather's going to fight Amir Khan, I'm sure. You know, like, that's the next fight to make the last one on the contract. But that's going to do maybe 800,000 buys, maybe. Like, no one's going to watch. Like, it's the end. I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel for boxing. Like, I like boxing. I love watching it. It's a beautiful sport. But, you know, that's consistency of big fights. It's access to fights. It's branding. It's names. It's the fact that in the sport, the fighters are bigger than the promotion. They dictate the terms. That leads to a lot of problems as well. You know, where Dana White or Victor Cui say, you are fighting you. And if you don't, you're going to go to the press and say, oh, Darren pulled out of the fight versus this guy. You know, it's...
Or just didn't agree to even sign a contract.
Yeah, so...
Turned it down.
Yeah, he didn't want to fight scared. Like, that's part of the problem with boxing. There's too many belts.
So do you like how Dana White kind of goes public with that insider knowledge? Like, how do you? I'm quite polarized by the way that he treats his employees. It's incredible how much he can actually employee bash, which is a bizarre strategy. I mean, you're an entrepreneur, you're a businessman. Would you ever treat your employees in such fashion?
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting power placement. You know, like. It's good because he controls his market. He's got full PR control over a fighter's reputation. He really does. And it works. It does help him create the most exciting fights. That being said, if you're a fighter, you're a brand, right? If you're someone like Rashad Evans, who's, you know, tasted glory, been really close, and then you look at this next fight and you go, man, if I take that fight, there's a strategy involved. I take that fight and I lose. What's that do for my career path, my trajectory? It's just not a good fight for me. It doesn't mean
Rashad overthinks way too much.
He's a extreme example, right? But
it's a good example.
But there is the need to pick your fights. Like, people don't want to admit it, but you know, records matter, and you don't want to take 2 losses. You don't want to scrape by 2 wins, and then you fight a guy who's stylistically going to be boring. You know, you got to protect your brand, and sometimes I think you can make these decisions, what's best for your career, but then get tarnished in the media as, you know, dodging this fight or ducking that guy. So it's a tough one, but it puts him in a good negotiating spot.
Yeah, but I also think that fighters these days in fight promotion, they just think statistics a bit too much, and therefore fighters going to fight safe. You know, because of statistics. You know,
we talked about that. We talked about the fundamental difference between Pride and the UFC.
Yeah, so I like Pride because, like, Pride fighters will fight because as long as they keep the crowds entertained, they fight hard, they're an interesting fight, they have a personality, win or lose, they come back to fight. Because they know the crowd wants to see them again.
Yeah, it's such an interesting dynamic, and I had Victor Cuyo on the show Saturday, and I talked to him about the types of fighters that he wants to bring to his organization. You know, how does he? What's the philosophy? One FC fighter on the show the other day, and he was like, "I'm amped." He's just like, "This is huge." Where did you guys' anticipation level fit for this fight?
I lost all care for this fight about 2 years ago, 18 months ago. I was like, I don't care anymore. Once Pacquiao got starched and laid flat on the canvas, I went, well, it's just lost so much of its appeal now.
Yeah.
He's not riding this huge wave of momentum. But then as soon as it was announced, it all came back. As soon as it was announced, I was like a little kid. I can't wait.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was like Chuck Liddell against Vanderlei, right? It happened a few years too late, but then when it went down, you still had to watch it.
I had to watch.
You know?
There's no way
it was better than this.
Yeah, it was better than this.
Without being the epic barn burner that Goldie and them made it out to be during the fight. I thought it was a good fight. I didn't think it was a great. I didn't think it was a classic.
No,
it wasn't. It took a long time to get going, that fight.
And the Mayweather, look, Mayweather did what he always does, and he made his opponent fight his fight. And anytime you can do that, chances of victory are really high. You know, Manny fought a Manny-style fight for a total of 90 seconds, maybe, in that whole event. That was it.
Yeah.
The jab kept him away. The defense was too good. He just couldn't pull it off. So, you know, technical boxing, really a very, very highly technical fight, but not good for the casual observer who's wanting to see people just stand in the middle of the ring and throw punches at each other.
You know what? That's an interesting point you make, because a lot of people, you know, we talk about what's an appealing fight for MMA to draw people into the crowds. And, you know, sometimes a very technical fight can happen as well, and that's just not something people want to see. Offline, before we started recording here, we were talking about Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah.
And he just had that incredible last second of the fight in a 5th round title fight victory over Horiguchi. And he's still just underappreciated. Well, you know, how come people can't resonate? How come a fight like that doesn't resonate with the casual fan?
I think in his case, it's two things. One is it's a size thing.
Yeah.
The baddest man on the planet is always going to be the heavyweight champion.
Yeah, but Mayweather and Pacquiao aren't big guys either.
Yeah, but no one's calling Mayweather the baddest man on the planet. You know,
Yeah.
like, it's just, we have, especially in the States, especially in the West, we have a tendency that it's the big dude's always the baddest dude.
Well, bigger is better, whether it's boobs or fighters. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And
philosophy behind that, and it's really quite different from the UFC. I think in the UFC there's a mix of, you know, we want exciting barn burners, and then there's major championships and rankings, and you need to combine wins with excitement and all that. You know, there's a lot of, you know, it's very much a sport, and I think something like ONE FC, being that it's Asian based, there's a culture of martial arts.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the culture of the sport. And Victor made some very, very interesting points about how professional sports in Asia are kind of non-existent. You know, you're from the States. Where are you from, Brad?
Oklahoma.
You're from Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Where are you from, Darren?
Singapore.
Okay, you're from Singapore. All right, well, this is great, because you guys can each give your opinion on this. But, you know, I'm from Canada. I'm from France. In Western countries, athletes are rock stars.
Yeah,
they're idols.
Right.
And what you have is you have people in Asia, it seems, that function at a very high level athletically, but there's no outlets for it. And something like ONE FC is becoming finally an outlet to billions of homes for people to see these unheralded athletes. Right?
Yeah. And you know, the ONE FC model is interesting, because how do you go into a country, how do you go into a market that doesn't, when I moved to Asia 12 years ago, no one could spell MMA. Like, no one had even heard of it. Like, it just didn't exist. And now it's, you know, they're doing shows in Jakarta and KL, and people are now, from the first show I went to in KL, not having a clue what's going on, now there'll be a nice transition on the ground and people are cheering. Like, there's been a huge learning curve that people have taken pretty quickly, and that's now making it appealing for the athletes. I think before, you know, there was no outlet for an athlete. You could be really good at CLOT, and what does that mean? You could become a national champion boxer in your country, go represent your country in the SEA Games, and you're going to go pro? You're going to go? No, there was no outlet. So so it's interesting that he's given traditional martial arts and given these people a way to kind of express their form.
Right.
It's the first time it's ever happened.
Who the talks that shit.
Welcome to Trash Talk MMA,
Smile on my face, behind my back, and talk trash.
the #1 podcast for news and insight that matters in the world of mixed martial arts.
I don't want to hear it.
Brought to you live and unfiltered from all four corners of the globe
That's what you said.
by MMA aficionado Antoine Pelche.
Yo, and welcome to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Pelche, and today I have two very special guests live in Singapore. ONE FC fighter Brad Robinson and Darren De Silva, owner and founder of Fight G. What's going on, guys?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Thanks for having us on.
It's a beautiful day in Singapore. We just had a big fight weekend with the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. What do you guys think of all that?
It was the biggest sporting event of my lifetime, probably, and
It's funny that we have to actually think of it that way, right?
it was. I've never had so much anticipation for an event, a live event, in my whole life. But wasn't a good day for boxing, I think, is the best way to sum it up. Like, so many casual fans were dragged into that space, and I think they kind of feel a bit let down, like not quite getting the boxing thing.
So yeah, I mean, casual fans, maybe some casual fans got exposed to pretty much the biggest boxing fight of all time.
Right.
Darren, what was your take on it?
I knew the fight would be boring. I mean, just because of Mayweather style versus Pacquiao style, and I figured it would be boring. And I think Mayweather's kind of fighter that wants to play it safe all the time. So I did think Mayweather would push the pace. I know Pacquiao would go for it because, with the judging and who the referee was, I knew Mayweather had to. I knew Pacquiao had to go for it. So somebody asked me who's going to win. I said, my brain tells me Mayweather, but my heart hopes Pacquiao.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been recording fighters and a bunch of martial arts professionals over the last 3 months in Thailand, and I remember I had Travis Luter on the show, a former middleweight contender who fought Anderson Silva, and he's a huge boxing fan, and he had zero anticipation for this fight. To him, it was just like, this should have happened 5 years ago. It's irrelevant now. I then had